In the village of Umoja, the people lived simple lives. Children played by the river while adults worked in the fields. The village had a peaceful routine, but there was one place everyone feared: the Enchanted Forest of Nguvu. No one ever went there, and the few who did never returned. The villagers spoke of dark magic, strange creatures, and voices that called to people, luring them into the forest's depths, never to be seen again. Amani, a young woman in the village, sat on her doorstep, staring at the forest. Her heart was heavy with sadness, and tears had long dried on her face. It had been 6 months since her love, Kito, had disappeared into that forest. No one knew why he went in, and no one could bring him back. Every night, she heard his voice in her dreams, calling her name, as if he was still alive, trapped inside the forest. The villagers had told her to forget about Kito, to move on with her life. But how could she? Kito was her heart, her future. They had grown up together, dreamed of getting married, and starting a family. She couldn't just let him go. The elders said the forest took what it wanted and never gave it back. But Amani didn't believe that. She could feel Kito calling her, and she knew she had to go find him. That evening, as the sun set, Amani made her decision. She would enter the Enchanted Forest and bring Kito back, no matter the danger. The moon was high in the sky when Amani quietly left her home, carrying only a small bag with some water, bread, and the piece of Kito's cloth she had kept. The village was quiet as everyone slept, unaware of the risk she was about to take. The closer Amani got to the forest, the more her heart pounded. The trees were tall and thick, their branches twisted together, creating a dark roof that blocked the moonlight. The air felt colder as she stepped into the forest, and immediately, everything around her seemed different. The silence was unsettling, and it felt like the trees were watching her every move. As she walked deeper, Amani heard strange noises, soft whispers, rustling leaves, and the snap of twigs, though no one was in sight. Every now and then, she thought she saw a shadow or movement in the corner of her eye. The forest seemed alive, playing tricks on her mind. After hours of walking, Amani reached a small clearing where a pond reflected the starry sky. She knelt by the water to drink, and when she looked up, she gasped. There, in the water's reflection, she saw Kito standing beside her. His image was faint like a ghost, but it was him. "Kito," she whispered, spinning around, but there was no one behind her. Only the water held his reflection. Amani touched the surface, causing it to ripple, and the image of Kito disappeared. Her heart ached, but she knew she was on the right path. Kito was here somewhere, and she would find him. Suddenly, from the shadows of the trees, an old woman appeared. Her back was hunched, and her face was hidden beneath a dark hood. She seemed to blend into the forest, her presence both mysterious and frightening. "The forest does not take without giving," the woman said in a raspy voice. "But its price is high." Amani stepped back, her heart racing. "Who are you? Do you know where Kito is?" The old woman nodded slowly. "I know where he is. He's here in the forest, but not as you remember him. The forest has claimed him as it claims all who enter. It feeds on love, on loss, and on longing. It traps those who have lost something dear." Amani shook her head. "I don't believe that. I can save him. I will bring him back." The woman's pale eyes gleamed from beneath her hood. "You can try, but to free him, you must pay the forest's price. And the price is always something precious." "What do you mean?" Amani asked, her voice trembling. The answer lies at the heart of the forest, the woman said. Beneath the oldest tree you will find what you seek. But remember, nothing comes without a cost. With that, the old woman turned and disappeared into the shadows as quickly as she had appeared, leaving Amani alone once more. Amani walked deeper into the forest, her mind racing with the old woman's words. What kind of price would she have to pay? What could the forest want from her? But there was no turning back now. She had to find Kito. The trees became thicker, their branches blocking out what little light remained. Strange carvings appeared on the tree trunks, glowing faintly. Amani didn't understand their meaning, but they made her skin crawl. The deeper she went, the more she felt the forest closing in around her, as if it was alive and aware of her presence. She stumbled upon a group of stone statues, their faces frozen in expressions of fear. They were so lifelike that Amani hurried past, afraid that they might have once been people, trapped by the forest's magic. The path seemed to twist and turn in impossible ways, leading her in circles. Just when she thought she was lost, she emerged into a large clearing. In the center stood the biggest tree she had ever seen, its roots thick and winding across the ground like giant snakes. The ancient tree stood at the heart of the forest, its bark blackened and twisted. Beneath it was a small, glowing pool of water. Amani approached the pool, her heart pounding. As she looked into the water, Kito's face appeared again, clearer than before. "Kito," she whispered, her hand trembling as she reached out toward the reflection. But as her fingers touched the water, the image of Kito began to shift. His eyes grew dark, his face twisted, and then he disappeared, leaving only ripples on the surface. A voice came from the pool, faint but familiar. It was Kito's voice. "Amani, I am lost. The forest has taken me." "No!" Amani cried. "I came to find you. There must be a way to bring you back." Kito's voice echoed from the pool. "The forest demands a price. Something precious. Something you hold dear." Tears filled Amani's eyes. "I'll give anything. Just tell me what I need to do." The old woman appeared once more, stepping out from the shadows of the tree. "The forest will return Kito to you," she said, "but in exchange it will take something from you. Something just as valuable as the love you've lost." Amani turned to the old woman, her mind racing. "What does it want from me?" The woman's eyes gleamed. "Your memories. To bring Kito back, the forest will take all the memories you have of him. You will be together again, but you will not remember the love you shared. The memories that brought you here will be gone." Amani felt her heart break all over again. How could she live without the memories of Kito, the moments they shared, the love they had built? But if she didn't make the sacrifice, Kito would be lost forever, trapped in the forest. Amani stood in silence, her heart torn between two impossible choices. The old woman's voice was soft but clear. "The forest feeds on love, child. Takes what is most precious. If you want Kito back, it will take your memories of him. You will be together, but the love you remember will be gone." Amani looked at the pool, her heart aching. She couldn't imagine a life without Kito, but losing the memories of their love seemed like losing a part of herself. "Kito," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know what to do." Kito's voice came from the pool once more. "I will always be with you, Amani, but the choice is yours." Amani took a deep breath. She had come too far to turn back now. She couldn't leave Kito trapped in the forest, even if it meant losing the memories of their love. "I choose you," she whispered, her voice shaking. Even if I can't remember, I choose to be with you. The old woman nodded, her expression unreadable. So be it. As Amani made her decision, the ground beneath her feet trembled, and the air around her shimmered with magic. The ancient tree's roots began to shift, and the pool of water glowed brighter. The forest had accepted her offer. Slowly, Kito's figure emerged from the shadows. He looked just as he had the day he disappeared, his eyes bright and full of life. Amani's heart soared, but as she reached out to him, a strange feeling washed over her. She knew Kito. She recognized his face, his voice, but the memories that had once filled her heart, the laughter they shared, the love they had built, were gone. She felt a deep emptiness where those memories had been, but Kito was here, standing before her, and that was enough. The old woman watched from the edge of the clearing, her eyes gleaming. Amani stood in the clearing, her breath catching in her throat, as Kito emerged fully from the shadows of the ancient tree. He looked exactly as she remembered, strong, gentle, and full of warmth. But something was missing. Though she recognized his face and the deep brown of his eyes, the memories of the moments that had once brought them close were no longer there. The love she had fought so hard for was distant, like a dream that had slipped through her fingers. Kito, too, looked uncertain, his brow furrowed as he gazed at Amani, sensing the invisible barrier that now stood between them. "Amani," he whispered, his voice soft and full of longing. "Is it really you?" Amani nodded, her heart heavy. She knew she had made the right choice, but the emptiness left by her forgotten memories made her chest ache. "It's me, Kito. I found you." They stood for a long moment, staring at each other, neither knowing how to bridge the gap that now separated them. Kito took a step forward, and without thinking, Amani reached out to him. When their hands touched, there was a spark, a faint but undeniable connection. Even though her memories of their love were gone, something deep inside her recognized the bond they had once shared. "I don't remember everything," Amani admitted, her voice shaking. "But I know I couldn't leave you behind." Kito's face softened. "I don't remember how I got here," he said. "It's like waking up from a dream. But I know you came for me, and that means more than anything." They stood together in the clearing, their hands still entwined, both feeling the weight of what had been lost, but also the hope of what could be regained. Love, they realized, wasn't just in the memories. They could rebuild it, even without the past. The ancient tree behind them creaked, its twisted branches swaying as if it were alive. The roots began to retract into the earth, and the glow from the pool dimmed. The forest had taken its price, and now it was returning to its usual silence. The whispers that had filled the air were gone, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the gentle hum of nature. The old woman, who had been watching quietly from the edge of the clearing, stepped forward. Her eyes, once sharp and full of knowledge, softened as she looked at Amani and Kito standing side by side. "The forest has given you what you asked for," she said in a low voice. "You have each other again, though the past is lost." Amani nodded, still holding Kito's hand tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, though her voice was filled with sadness. She glanced at Kito, her heart heavy with the knowledge that they would have to rebuild everything from scratch. The old woman's face softened, a rare smile touching her lips. "Love can be forgotten, but it can also be found again," she said. "The forest may have taken your memories, but it cannot take what lies in your heart." Amani looked at Kito, hope stirring in her chest. The emptiness left by the loss of her memories might never be filled, But the love they had once shared was not completely gone. It lived on in the small, quiet moments that connected them now. "Go," the old woman said, waving a bony hand. "Leave this place before the forest changes its mind." Amani and Kito, still hand in hand, turned and began the long journey back to the village. The path that had once seemed so dark and twisted now felt lighter, as if the forest itself had loosened its grip on them. They walked in silence, both of them trying to make sense of what had just happened and what the future would hold. When Amani and Kito finally emerged from the enchanted forest, the sun was beginning to rise, casting a warm, golden light over the village of Umoja. It was as if the world had been reborn, fresh and full of promise. The villagers gasped when they saw Kito. Many had believed he was lost forever, and their joy at his return was overwhelming. But Amani and Kito, though grateful for the warm welcome, felt distant from the celebration. They stood together at the edge of the village, uncertain of where to go from here. Amani's mother rushed to embrace her, tears of relief streaming down her face. "My brave girl," she whispered, pulling Amani close. "You brought him back." Amani smiled, but it was a small, sad smile. "I did," she said softly, "but not in the way I thought I would." As the villagers gathered around, celebrating Kito's miraculous return, Amani and Kito exchanged a glance. The love that had once been so simple, so easy, now felt fragile and uncertain. But it was still there, flickering like a flame that could be nurtured back to life. That evening, as the village quieted down and the stars filled the sky, Amani and Kito